Hey there, art nerds, and happy holidays. I'm here with you today with the second of our 5 holiday-inspired Stashbuster watercolor tutorials. These are meant to use up the scraps in your watercolor stash and actually get you painting. And today I'm going to show you how to paint some festive Christmas lights. The materials you're going to need to paint along with me today are a scrap of cotton rag watercolor paper. You are also going to need some chipboard to attach it to, some masking tape, some masking fluid, and I'm using removable masking fluid today, some brightly colored watercolors, so if you've got neon watercolors, now is your chance to break them out, as well as your favorite regular watercolors, including some darker colors that we're going to use for the background. We're also going to use a variety of round watercolor brushes, a pencil, a ceramic plate, and a paper towel. So the first thing I want to do is I want to secure our watercolor paper to our chipboard. So I am applying my masking tape to all 4 edges, starting with the shorter end and then doing the 2 longer ends and then doing the last shortest end. For some reason, this works best for me. Then I'm going to lightly sketch in my Christmas light bulbs. I'm going for those big old-fashioned bulbs, but you can do smaller ones, you can do bubbling ones, whatever you like. I'm also sketching in the wire for the bulbs and doing a cute little loop. Once I've got everything kind of sketched in and placed, I'm going to tighten up my illustration, bearing down a little bit harder and kind of cleaning up some areas. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I'm Becca Hilburn. I am a watercolor comic artist and illustrator. I also review art supplies here on the channel, and I love creating tutorials that will inspire you to paint and hopefully make watercolor a little bit easier. If you like what you see here, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit that bell notification and let YouTube know that you want to see more from me. So to start with our lights, I'm picking kind of a limited palette of more traditional Christmas light colors. You can use whatever colors you want for this as long as they are brighter colors. So I'm using yellows, oranges, reds, purples, and a blue, but you can use red and green, you can use blue and white, you can use whatever colors that work for you. I'm also using a water brush to add a little bit of clean water to the center of each of our bulbs, and this is going to create a watercolor bleed and push some of that color out of the center of the bulb and create kind of the effect of light. You guys can really see it well on some of the darker colors. This is why using a cotton rag watercolor paper is so important. Once that had a chance to fully dry, I'm going into the center of each of the bulbs using a synthetic watercolor brush, and I'm applying a little bit of our masking fluid. And I'm also using our masking fluid to mask out the wires for the bulbs. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it is going to make it easier to paint the wires later on if that's something you care about. I'm also doing a little bit of masking fluid splatter to kind of create the illusion of light. Once the masking fluid has dried completely, totally, and fully, I am going over with the same colors just to kind of reinforce and build those colors up so that we have more intense colors. And once I've done that, I'm also going to go back in and add a little bit of water to the center to push some of that color out and again create the illusion of light coming from the center of our light bulbs. You can see that here, and that bleed out effect is so pretty. It works so well for this right now. So we're going to let that dry fully, and we're going to pull the masking fluid out yet again, and we're going to mask off the whole bulb this time. So with my Stashbuster tutorials, they're designed to get you guys to use the materials that you've been hoarding, all those expensive scraps of watercolor paper. I know I hold on to them, and hopefully this will inspire you guys to take a little bit of a risk, not a big risk, and paint along with me and use up scraps from your stash. The beauty of this is that it doesn't take a lot of paper to do, and a lot of the ideas that I'm showing you guys require no real drawing skills at all, because I really don't want anything to get in the way of you picking up a paintbrush and painting. You can also use these ideas in any format you like. This doesn't have to be a bookmark. It could be a postcard. It could be a gift tag. It could be a greeting card. But I have bookmark shaped scraps, so I'm going to make bookmarks out of them. But hopefully this will leave you guys feeling inspired and energized to paint. I'm splattering a little bit more masking fluid to kind of create the illusion again of light coming from our light bulbs, and I'm going to let the masking fluid dry all the way through again. Once our masking fluid is dried, and you can tell it's dried because it goes totally clear, we're going to use a darker color. I'm using a little bit of black mixed with neutral tint for this, but it can be any darker color that you like. And I'm also going to use a little bit of lunar black. But first, I'm using some clean water and I'm brushing it alongside the light bulbs so that we can kind of get that illusion of glow by creating a bleed. I'm also dabbing in a super granulating color. I'm dabbing in some Daniel Smith Lunar Black so that we can get some granulation and we can really kind of work on those glow effects and creating the illusion that light is coming from these light bulbs. Now, if you find that you've added too much black in, you can always go and dab some of your original colors, your yellow, your orange, your red, your purple, your blue, or whatever colors you're using into the Wet n' Wet black to create kind of a halo of color. I allowed that to dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and start applying a second layer. I'm actually not covering the whole thing this time. I'm leaving kind of a halo around the light bulbs, and I'm blending that out with some clean water. And if you're working on a larger sheet of paper, I would recommend leaving more space between the bulbs because it's going to make doing that halo effect a lot easier. It was a little bit tricky with the limited space that I have here and the brush size that I have, but please feel free to experiment and make it your own and to just kind of keep messing around with it until you find something you like. So I'm going to dab in some more of our lunar black to get that granulating black going, and that's going to also help give the illusion that we've got light going on and that we've got glows going on. And if you're looking for more tutorials on how to paint light, how to paint glow effects, I've got you covered. I've got so many great watercolor tutorials here on the channel. They're in various different playlists. I'm going to spritz it with water just to encourage some movement, some chaos, and to get those pigments to kind of move around because I felt like they were very static and they felt kind of heavy, and spraying them with clean water is going to kind of loosen them up and get them to move. So this is what our light bulbs look like right now. They definitely do look like they're kind of glowy, but we can make them look even more glowy. And one of the ways we can do that is by really darkening up the black and pushing that, because that's going to give us contrast. We're going to have that dark against those bright colors, and it's going to make those bright colors seem like they're glowing. So now I'm going in with the color of each light bulb and I'm brushing it into the black, and it's a really wet mix. So what that's going to do is that's going to bleed out into the black, and it's going to further create that illusion of glow. That is the key word for today's Stashbuster tutorial, is glow and lighting, because we're painting lights and lights should do just that. So any technique, any effect that I can add to this piece that's going to make it seem like it's actually glowing or actually lit, I'm going to utilize. Here's a close-up of how that technique worked. I think it turned out pretty good. We're definitely getting some diffusion of light into our black. I allowed that to dry completely, totally, and fully. And now it's time to carefully remove our masking fluid using a masking fluid pickup to help us. And we're getting such good masking fluid peels over here. You guys may have seen these over on my TikTok. They were just too satisfying not to share. Now, in retrospect, I love how the wire looks right now. I think that is so pretty. I think that it turned out really cute. I could have left it like that, and you may decide to leave it like that because it's working really well, as simple as it is. I'm also picking up all those masking fluid splatter dots that we added in to kind of create the illusion of light. And you could definitely call it done. It really looks like it's glowing here on camera, but I am not one to know when to leave well enough alone. So painting around our little light filament, I'm adding some of the local colors. So in this instance, yellow, and then next a little bit of the orange, and then I'm blending it out with some clean water. This is totally optional. You do not have to do this. If I were doing this again for, say, a card or a tag, I would probably leave it the way it is because I think that looks so cool. And I feel like I lost a little bit of it by kind of overworking it too much. But that is hindsight, and hindsight is 2020. Of course, we're going to see what we would do better and differently when we're rewatching something. But I still think the resulting piece turned out really cute. So take what you want from this and throw the rest away. If you see a technique you like, if you see an idea you like, feel free to use it for your own. That's one of the reasons I share these tutorials, so you guys can see what went right and what went wrong and what you might want to do differently in the future. So to me, Christmas lights have green wires, kind of to blend in with green Christmas trees. So I decided to paint the base of the bulb and the wires green. You don't have to do this. I think it looks better without doing it, but that is what I did for this to further push the Christmas light thing. But I should have left it abstract because that was really cute. After the green wires dried, I decided I wanted the caps on the light bulbs to be metallic. So I'm going in with Payne's Gray and I'm leaving just a little hint of a highlight to it. Again, you do not have to do this. You could use a metallic paint for this and that might turn out really pretty. It is your project to do with as you like. When that dried, I'm going in with a thicker saturation mix of our Payne's Gray, and I'm really trying to capture kind of the twist striations on the caps for each of these bulbs. And since I already painted the wires green, I'm going to commit to the bit and I'm going in with a darker green. I think it's undersea green in this instance. And I'm just adding a little bit of shadow to give it a little bit of volume. Again, this is entirely optional. What I'm trying to do though, is I'm trying to make sure that I leave like the light part light so that it looks like the Christmas lights are actually hitting the wire and the light is bouncing off of it. We want to kind of create the illusion of light. We don't want to ruin that by overpainting it. Now I've got some stuff I want to clean up. I've got some stuff I want to fix. So I have here some white gouache. If you're not familiar with gouache, gouache is an opaque watercolor that's worked a little bit more thickly than transparent and translucent watercolor. So one of the first things I'm doing is I'm kind of outlining around the center of the filament just to kind of make it seem brighter. It's a little bit hard to see because my hand is basically on top of it. And I'm also going to outline around the bulb to make it look more like it's glowing. Again, this is totally optional. You do not have to do this. You could hop off the train at any point, but this was what I did, and it might be an idea for your piece. So here's what our bookmark looks like now. I think it's turning out pretty cute. We've definitely got those glow effects down. So once it has fully dried, you can remove the masking tape. I recommend that you pull away at a 90-degree angle, working in reverse order from where you started. And we've got those crispy peels yet again. So this is the second of our Stashbuster holiday watercolor bookmarks. I hope you guys found this helpful, useful, and informative. I had fun painting it. I hope you feel inspired and empowered to start your own watercolor journey. Tutorials like this are made possible thanks to the amazing generosity of my fantastic patrons on Patreon. You can join them at patreon.com/natosoup. Thank you guys so much.